2 weeks ago, I was at Country Club having dinner with a mentee of mine who had just arrived from UK, and it's been a while we had actually caught up, so we decided to have dinner and then, just catch up about life and then get to know what's happening in his life, his business and all of that. And whilst we're having dinner and the conversation was going on, he says, MBA, there's something about your life that fascinates me. I said, what is it? He said, how are you able to combine marriage life with business? I don't think it's possible. And I'm like, really? And he's like, yes. And he says, I don't think a man can actually enjoy being a successful businessman and still managing the affairs of his home. I'm like, okay. And then whilst the conversation was going on, he says, again, how are you able to have a passionate love for Jesus and his program and his agenda, and then still have time to do real estate, have time to put out the content, have time to write the books and all of those things? And instantly, I could tell where his thinking span was. I could tell where his perspective on life was. And it leads me to what I'll be talking to you guys about today's topic on the Millionaire's Mind Mastery series. Now, I remember whilst having dinner, I went back and I said, brother, let me ask you a question. He said, okay. I said, do you prefer to have a successful career or to have a close bonded relationship with your family? And he said he prefers to have, a close bonded relationship with his family than to have a successful career. I'm like, okay, interesting. Then I said, would you prefer to have a successful marriage, as against a successful career? And then he said, well, companionship is for a lifetime. When you hit your pension years, you need somebody by you. So he'll prefer to invest in his marriage, which is not bad actually. But then listening to him outrightly, I could tell where the problem was. And so I told him, I said, brother, there's a problem with your thinking and you need help. This leads me to talking to you guys about what today's episode on the Millionaire Mind Mastery series is about. Rich people think in both. Rich people, they think in both. Rich people, they think in both. Poor people think either or. Either or. So for a rich person, this is how he thinks. He believes that he can have a successful career and he can equally have a successful marriage. And so when he was speaking to me and he was asking me those questions, I instantly knew that in his world of thinking, he always thinks that at the expense of another, he should be able to suffer, or one of the conditions should suffer at the expense of another, which is actually a wrong way of thinking. Why can't you have both? Why can't you have a successful career and still be successful in your marriage? Why can't you have a successful business and still have a close bonded relationship with your family? The rich have a way they think. The rich live in a world of abundance, and usually the poor person lives in a world of scarcity. Whereas the rich is living in a world of abundance, the poor person is living in a world of scarcity. So every time they are confronted with two most important things, or two most important facets of their lives that they are supposed to equally give the same energy and the same attention to, they usually will pick one over the other. Now, I want to help your understanding, to move you from living in a realm of scarcity or a world of scarcity to a world of abundance. There's something that I usually do. Before I got married, I usually sat down alone in my house and I asked myself, can I have a successful marriage and can I have a successful business? That is what the rich understand. They always think of how they can have both and begin to create strategies to make sure that both is working for them. They begin to think and create strategies to make sure that they are magnetizing both options to themselves. And so when I sat down in that space and I was thinking about those two things, I started coming up with strategies and things to make sure that I could enjoy both, or I could have the blessing of both. Strategically, what that thing begins to do to you is that it begins to move your thinking from a world of scarcity to a world of abundance. And so whenever you are confronted with either or whenever you are confronted with two most important facets or decisions of your life, I want you to do something. Don't choose one over the other. Don't choose one at the expense of the other, because a life of holistic wholesomeness actually depends on you making sure that you're enjoying both. And so it's very important that you settle this truth and reality with you. Rich people think in both. They think in both. Poor people think in either or. If you're listening to me today on the conversation that we're having on the Millionaire Mind Mastery series, and every time that you have been confronted with a situation, you have had to choose one at the expense of the other, the problem is with your thinking. I plead with you, do a self-audit, and every time such things come to you, ask yourself, how can I have both? How can I have both? And you see, the moment you begin to think of how you can have both, your mind begins to enter into a certain spectrum where now it begins to give you the possibilities of making sure that both is possible. This is going to be a very simple exercise for you to do. Sit down and look at the things that you have in your life that you are sacrificing at the expense of the other, and I want you to ask yourself that how can you make sure that you are having both? And so, typical for a lot of people, one of the things that I've realized is that if you are, let's say, a pastor and you are reading your master's program, there's supposed to be what we call midweek service, and there's also supposed to be you going for lectures on that day. Now, how can you have both? You can have both. I was doing my master's and I was still making time for midweek service, and at the end of the day, when my results just came out recently, I had straight A's, my Bing, so I had straight A's, but I made sure that there was a balance in my life. One of the keys to succeeding at this thing called life is to have a balanced life, is to make sure that out of the 24 hours that you have in your day, the things that are important to you, the things that you have prioritized, the things that are most urgent, most important, you consecrate a particular or a particular part of your time to it, so that you can also be flourishing in those places. So do that self-audit. What are the things that you are sacrificing at the expense of the other? Some of you are literally sacrificing your health at the expense of knowledge. Some of you are sacrificing your family at the expense of money. Some of you are sacrificing your love life at the expense of school. There are so many things that a lot of you are twisting or you are sacrificing for, but it shouldn't be the case. You should be able to walk in a realm where you enjoy both in abundance, because that is the kind of world that we live in. The rich and the poor, they meet where? The earth. They both are living in the same world. They both are doing the same, breathing the same air. The difference is that they both have different perspectives and different mindsets to this thing called life. There's something that I always say is the fact that if you are doing the same business, 30 different business with the same poor mindset, you will get the same negative results. Every business you are failing at, somebody is succeeding at it. Everything that you are failing at, somebody is succeeding at it. The rich are wealthy because of the kind of mindset they use to drive their lives and their business. And I want you to be rich. I want you to be wealthy. This is the reason why we brought you the Millionaire Mind Mastery series. I hope that this episode has blessed you. Like, subscribe, share, invite somebody to watch this video so that they can also be blessed. And most importantly, like we always do here, this is the hub of consistent value. Let's do an exercise today. Copy the link of this video, post it on your status, and invite somebody to come watch. My name is Moses B. Arthur. Love and light. Cheers, guys.